He torched my retirement, my colleague's shocking accusation after 20 years. The streamers hung limply, the balloons bobbed listlessly, a pathetic attempt at festive cheer. This was it, my retirement party. 20 years at the logistics company, a monumental feat in itself, and yet, the joy felt tainted. My coworkers, my friends, were all here, their faces beaming. Even Marcy, my wife, sat in the front row, her smile a little too bright, a little too forced. But a cold knot twisted in my gut, a feeling of impending doom I desperately tried to dismiss as mere pre-retirement jitters. They poked gentle fun at my impressive filing system, code for the organized chaos of paper that defined my office. The speeches were predictable, the toasts were kind, and for a while, I almost believed I could actually enjoy this. Then Ron stepped up to the microphone, and everything shattered. Ron, my friend, my colleague, a man I'd known for what felt like a lifetime. Odd, intense, but fiercely loyal, a strange, unspoken respect bound us together. He cleared his throat, his gaze piercing me, holding me captive. Leo, he began, a long, unnerving pause hanging in the air. He turned to the crowd, his face unreadable. This is long overdue. A murmur rippled through the room, a confused, uneasy wave. My heart slammed against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. What on earth was he about to do? Ron has been holding this inside, he continued, his voice resonating with a strange, serious intensity, and I think it's time we bring it into the open. My stomach clenched so tight I thought I might be sick. I stole a glance at Marcy, her wide, questioning eyes mirroring my own mounting anxiety. I racked my brain, dredging up memories from 20 years ago. Just the usual office politics, nothing truly scandalous, or so I thought. The air in the room suddenly felt thick, heavy. My palms grew slick with sweat as Ron spoke again, his words laced with venom. That person was my sister, Eileen. Eileen, my sister, Eileen. A sharp, reserved woman, whose sudden passing years ago had cast a dark shadow over us all. Ron's voice trembled, a barely controlled tremor of rage and grief. Eileen was desperate. She didn't know how to get out of it, and she begged someone for help. Another chilling pause, then the hammer blow. Leo helped her. He was the one who kept her secret. The room erupted in a cacophony of gasps and whispers. My head swam, panic rising in my throat. I shook my head, desperately trying to deny the impossible. What are you talking about? I stammered, my voice cracking. Don't play dumb now, Leo. Ron's face contorted with bitter fury. I found her letter. After she died, I found a letter she left for me, confessing everything. She named you, Leo. She said you helped her cover it all up. Marcy's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes wide with disbelief and horror. All eyes turned to me, accusing, questioning, demanding an explanation I couldn't even begin to formulate. Marcy, I choked, the words like ash in my mouth. I didn't cover up anything, Eileen. We were friends, sure, but I wouldn't. Oh, you wouldn't, Ron sneered, cutting me off. Leo, Eileen trusted you. She said you were the only one she could go to. And now, all these years later, you're going to deny it. The murmurs intensified. The faces that moments before had held warmth and admiration now hardened with suspicion. Marcy gripped my arm, her voice a desperate whisper. Leo, please tell me this isn't true. Marcy, I swear, I pleaded, my voice trembling. I don't know what he's talking about. I didn't know Eileen was involved in anything. This is just wrong. Ron shook his head, a bitter, triumphant smile twisting his lips. Fine, keep denying it, but I've got the letter. Eileen left it all there, in black and white. I'll show anyone who wants to see it. He brandished a faded envelope, the object of my impending destruction, at the stunned crowd. You may be retiring, but people deserve to know who they've been working with all these years. My heart hammered a frantic rhythm against my ribs, the room spun, and I felt my carefully constructed life crumbling into dust. Marcy's grip tightened on my arm, a silent plea, a demand for the truth. Leo, she whispered, her voice barely audible above the rising tide of whispers. I can't believe this. Marcy, it's not true. I didn't help Eileen. I didn't even know she was in trouble. She never told me anything. Something deep within me cracked, the foundations of my carefully constructed world shattered. Ron gave me one last, withering look, a cold accusation burning in his eyes, then turned on his heel, leaving my reputation in tatters, scattered before the unforgiving gaze of my colleagues. My friends, my wife. The drive home was a torment, the silence thick and suffocating. Marcy stared fixedly out the window. Tess sat in the back, her expression a mask of anxiety and confusion. Each time I opened my mouth, the words seemed to choke me, failing to bridge the chasm that had suddenly opened between us. Finally, as we pulled into the driveway, Marcy spoke, her voice low and hollow. I need to know, Leo, did you help her? I swear to you, he's wrong, he's hurt and he's twisting things. I cried, desperate for her belief, her trust. She got out of the car without another word, leaving me standing there, a ghost in my own home. Marcy poured herself a drink. Tess followed her in, casting a sidelong glance at me before taking a seat. I knew I had to say something, anything, to break through their doubt. Look, I began, my voice trembling, Ron's twisting things. Yes, Eileen and I worked together, but I never covered anything up. She was my friend, but that's it. But why would Ron make this up, Leo? Marcy asked, her voice laced with pain. What would he gain from this? I struggled for an answer, knowing how weak and unconvincing it would sound. I don't know, maybe he's angry, misunderstood. Tess interrupted, her face a steady of conflict and confusion. Dad, if there's even a small chance. I mean, how can you be so sure you didn't help her? Maybe you did it without knowing, no. I said firmly, almost shouting, I would remember something like that. I never would have risked my career, our family, it's just not true. But Marcy's face remained hardened, her eyes filled with doubt. They didn't believe me. Not fully. That night, sleep eluded me, the accusation twisting inside me, a relentless torment. I had to set things straight. I had to know what was really in that letter. The next day, my stomach churning with dread, I drove to Ron's house. He answered the door, his face a mask of cold hostility. Come to clear your conscience, Leo, his tone dripped with sarcasm. Ron, I need to see that letter, I said, forcing my voice to remain steady. I have a right to know what she actually said. He crossed his arms, giving me a look that was half amusement, half scorn. So you can rewrite the past to suit you, is that it? No, I snapped, my patience finally snapping, so I can finally understand what happened. You blindsided me in front of my entire family, my colleagues. I need to know what Eileen wrote. Ron studied me, his eyes narrowing, searching. To my surprise, he turned and walked into the house, returning moments later with the faded envelope. He handed it over with a look of disdain. There it is, he said. Her words, not mine. My hand shook as I opened it, carefully unfolding the fragile paper. Ron, I read aloud, my voice trembling. I need you to understand something. I made a terrible mistake, and I think it's too late. I was desperate, and I went to Leo, hoping he'd understand. I don't think he knew how much trouble I was in, but he listened, and for that, I'm grateful. He was my friend when I didn't have any. I don't want him to get dragged down with me, but if something happens, please don't hold it against him. He was the only one who listened. I read the words over and over, each line twisting something inside me. Eileen had been struggling more than I ever realized. She hadn't revealed the severity of her troubles. She just needed someone to talk to, not knowing the extent of her problems. Ron stood across from me, however wasn't done. She wrote that letter as a last-ditch attempt to protect you, Leo, he said, his voice changing. Maybe she didn't say it outright, but she thought you'd help. She trusted you, but you let her down. I tried to make him understand, but I didn't know how bad things were. She never said anything about stealing or covering it up. If she had, I would have done something. But she didn't tell me that. Ron's face softened, but still held animosity. She's not here to say otherwise, is she? A silent moment passed, and his voice dropped. You're right. Maybe she didn't tell you the whole story. If you had listened to Eileen all those years ago, maybe even sensed her desperation, maybe things would have been different, but you did nothing. You ignored her. The words hung heavy between us. I had missed my chance to help her, to dig deeper when she needed someone. She had trusted me more than anyone, and I hadn't seen her pain for what it was. Ron looked at me, the anger softening into something closer to sorrow. I guess maybe I just wanted someone to blame. Losing her like that, so sudden, I needed a reason. I needed to believe someone could have stopped it. I'm sorry, Leo. Ron, I said, my voice breaking. I wish I'd understood. I didn't mean to let her down. After a long silence, he said, maybe we were both too hard on each other. Eileen was always private, always hiding things. He stepped back and closed the door softly, leaving me standing there on his doorstep, alone with the weight of my regret. Back home, Marcy and Tess read the letter carefully, their expressions shifting as they absorbed Eileen's words. She trusted you, Marcy said softly. She just didn't tell you everything. I know, I replied. I should have seen the signs. I should have done more. Tess reached out, placing her hand on mine. She chose to keep it from you. You can't blame yourself for that. The following months were filled with introspection, a reckoning with the naivete that had blinded me for so long. I lost the naive belief that simply listening was enough, that just being there for someone was the same as truly understanding their struggles. And though I tried to let it go, the image of Eileen's face, forever etched in my memory, haunted me. One day, as I was going through some old boxes in the attic, I found a photograph of Eileen and me at a company picnic. We were smiling, carefree, neither of us knowing the storm that would one day hang over us. It added a bittersweet pang of friendship that I've never truly appreciated. In the following weeks and months, I decided to hold a small memorial for her, inviting people who had known Eileen back in the day. As I spoke a few words in Eileen's memory, I felt a strange sense of peace. I didn't mention the scene at my retirement party, didn't bring up the letter, This was about honoring her as a person and not defining her by her mistakes. After the memorial, Ron approached me, his expression softened. I just wanted to say, "Thank you," he said, his voice rough. I think she would have liked this." "I hope so," I replied. Ron looked at me, a trace of sadness in his eyes. Maybe she's finally at peace now." We shook hands, an unspoken truce settling between us. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe again. I wanted to live my life with Eileen's story on my mind. A life that I had once lived, never truly knowing all the ways we tried to hide our struggles from the people around us. Retirement gave me time to think, to reach out to people I cared about rather than waiting for them to come to me. Eileen's story had a great effect on me, and I wanted to be the kind of friend I hadn't been for her. The kind of person who noticed the subtle cries for help and to not ignore a plea for help because it felt uncomfortable or inconvenient. I found a way to carry Eileen's memory with me and to let her life, and her trust in me, guide me towards something better. In the end, I realized that sometimes the most important role a person can play in another's life is not to be a hero or a savior, but simply to be a friend, and I promised myself, for Eileen's sake, that I would be that person, someone who listened not just to the words that were spoken but to the unspoken pain that lay beneath, because sometimes that's all someone needs. Despite all the changes that had occurred, there was still a part of my heart that would forever be wrapped around Eileen's story. And every time I thought of her, a mix of regret and guilt bubbled up inside me, reminding me of how easily we can miss the pain of those around us. One evening, as the sun set over our quiet neighborhood, Marcy and I took a walk. "You still think about her, don't you?" Marcy asked, unable to keep the sadness from my face. "I feel like I failed her, Marcy. She needed someone to see her struggle, and I missed it. All this time I thought I was a good friend, but was I really?" Marcy knelt beside me and took my hand and said, "Leo, we can only do the best we can with what we know." I think Eileen didn't want anyone to see her pain. Tess joined us, sitting down on the steps, her gaze focusing somewhere in the distance. "Dad, you taught me that real friendship means forgiving ourselves too. I know you carry this, but I don't think Eileen would want you to live and regret. She'd want you to remember the good times." I wanted to believe them. She unfolded a small worn notebook. "She said that Ron gave this to me after the memorial. He said he thought you might need this, and that maybe it would give you the peace you've been searching for." I opened to the marked page, my heart beating faster as I read Eileen's words. "I'm not sure anyone will understand what I've done, or why I've done it, but Leo has always been a good friend. He listens, even if he doesn't realize what he's listening to. And sometimes I don't need someone to fix things, I just need someone who's there, who cares. If nothing else, I hope he knows that his friendship made my life a little brighter. I hope he knows I'm grateful." The words blurred as my eyes filled with tears, the weight of her gratitude settling in a way I hadn't expected. Eileen had appreciated the little moments, the talks, the silent understanding we shared. She hadn't been asking for a hero, she'd simply wanted a friend. Marcy wrapped her arms around me. "You were there for her in the way she needed. She knew you cared? Isn't that enough?" I let out a shuddering breath, feeling a warmth blossom in my chest. Maybe it is," I whispered. Over the next few months, that final message from Eileen transformed the way I saw our friendship. I no longer let her story become just a burden, but instead it became a memory I could carry with pride. She had been a friend who faced her battles alone but found comfort in a simple, steadfast presence, and perhaps that was the best gift I could have given her. As the sun set over our quiet neighborhood one evening, Marcy and I took a walk, hand in hand. I looked around, taking in the peacefulness. As our walk went on, I stopped and told Marcy, "I think I finally understand. Marcy, life isn't always about saving people or solving their problems. Sometimes, just being there is enough." She smiled. "She knew you cared, Leo, and you did everything you could, even if it didn't feel like enough. Maybe that's what matters most." I looked up at the sky, I thought of Eileen, and in a way, I knew it was true. From that day forward, I made a point to live more openly, to reach out more, and to water Eileen's memory by being the friend she had needed. That regret that had haunted me softened into a gentle reminder of the importance of simply being there for the people we care about, and ultimately, that's what helped me begin to heal. And after some time had passed, Marcy mentioned that she felt that I seemed lighter, like I finally let go of something that has been weighing me down. And that was the truth. But there was one last piece to this journey that I hadn't anticipated. About 6 months after the memorial, Tess called and asked me to meet her for coffee downtown. She didn't say much over the phone, just that she had something important she wanted to talk about. We met at a quiet cafe near her office. Tess took a deep breath. "Dad, I've been doing some research about Aunt Eileen's life. I know you've made peace with everything, but there's something you should know. Something I think you deserve to understand." "What do you mean?" Tess handed me a manila folder, her expression serious. "I went to the company archives, Dad. I dug through old records, anything that might shed some light on what actually happened with Eileen." Tess went on to say to me that she read internal reports about the matter. I opened the folder and began to read. All that I read was shocking and heartfelt. Tess began explaining to me the contents of the folder. According to the document, Eileen hadn't been embezzling at all. She'd been investigating a discrepancy she discovered trying to trace money that had been funneled out of the company by someone in the upper management. Tess added, but she never made it public, because she was trying to protect herself while she gathered evidence. My heart raced as I read, piecing together a story I'd never imagined. Something dangerous, but she kept it hidden, likely afraid of retribution, or worse, of losing her job. She was close. She was so close to exposing whoever was involved, Tess explained, but whoever was involved must have figured out she was investigating them. They buried the investigation. My chest tight, and realized I've been holding my breath. Are you telling me that Eileen, she wasn't guilty at all? That's right, Dad. Her eyes brimming with emotion. She was innocent, Dad. She didn't do anything wrong. She was just trying to protect the company and herself. But she didn't have anyone on her side. Tess' voice dropped to a softer level. I think she was afraid that if she told you all the truth, she would be putting you in danger. The weight of her words sank in. Eileen had tried to shield me. She had thought that if she didn't bring the truth to light, she could make things right without hurting anyone else. Tears pickled at the corners of my eyes as I responded. I thought I'd failed her, but all along she was the one protecting me. Tess reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Dad, you were a good friend to her, and that's why she never put this on you. She knew how much you cared, and she wanted to keep you safe. I sat there struggling to find the right words to say. As I said, I thought Eileen hadn't needed me to save her all that time, and instead she had been trying to save me all these years, and I never knew she was a hero. Tess smiled through her own tears and replied to me, yes, Dad, she was. And now you know. You can finally let her memory rest in peace. We sat in silence, each of us absorbing the weight of this new truth. Eileen's story was no longer a tragic tale of mistakes and regret. She'd chosen to carry the burden alone and to protect the people she cared about, even when it cost her everything. She'd been a true friend in ways I couldn't have imagined, and finally, I understood the courage it had taken for her to do what she did. That evening, I looked up at the night sky, and for the first time in years I saw no cloud coverage. Back home, Marcy was waiting, her eyes filled with warmth and understanding as I shared the full story with her. When I finished, she gave me a soft smile, wrapping her arms around me. She was a good friend, Leo. And so were you. I think she'd be happy knowing that you remember her this way. We spent that evening reminiscing, sharing stories of laughter, joy, and in those stories I found the closure I've been searching for. In the weeks that followed, I made a commitment to honor Eileen's memory by living with the same quiet courage she'd always possessed. I reached out more, making sure that the people I cared about knew they had someone to turn to. That someday, somewhere, someone would always be there ready to listen and understand. One day I found myself back at the company, dropping off some paperwork and tying up loose ends. In the quiet hallway, I felt a wave of nostalgia, thinking of all the times I had commiserated with Eileen over project deadlines. I stopped by her old office, now occupied by someone new. As I stood in the doorway, I smiled. Her legacy wasn't just in her sacrifices or the friendship we shared, but it was in the way she taught me to be a better person, to see what lies beneath the words. In the end, Eileen's story became a part of mine, a testament to the strength we find in ourselves and in each other. I found peace, and in that peace there was a silent reminder that sometimes the greatest acts of love are the ones we carry quietly, never expecting recognition, never asking for thanks. And as the years went by, I kept her memory alive. She died a quiet death. What is the story of friendship, sacrifice, love, all the things we cannot always see, but feel, and therein that is the story that can echo through time, even in silence. So Reddit, after hearing everything, do you think I handled this situation correctly? I'm genuinely curious about your perspectives, and I'm open to any feedback or insights you might have based on everything I've shared. Please let me know if you think I did the right thing or if there was anything I could have done differently.